The Spiegelau Tulip, very versatile glass. Essentially one of the only things I drink beer out of now. If I have the choice, my go-to. This video is being recorded for training purposes, one for our own tavern, but also for other bars and restaurants that are pouring our beer. We ultimately want to improve the customer experience, and so one way to do this is to provide a consistent product without defect. And giving you a little bit of training here just on how to pour into the Spiegelau glass, I think will go a long ways. For one, a consistent product across servers and pourers is important, but also not overpouring these glasses, which can easily happen, is going to be important for maximizing profits of each location. One training tool I always suggest is actually pulling a scale out, putting it next to the taps, and training the whole crew on just making sure they're getting their volumes right. The head can be deceiving. Some beers have a more dense head, some a little bit less dense, so that ratio of actual beer to foam can vary among styles and different beers. That's why the sure bet is just to go ahead and take a scale, put it next to the taps, train yourself, train everybody around you to pour that volume specifically. What I'm trying to demonstrate with this situation is that even though sometimes you may pour a very generous amount of foam or head into a beer, eventually it will subside mostly into beer. And this can actually benefit the consumer because it reduces the carbonation or the bloating effect you might get from the beer, but you're also, by letting it rest, establishing a nice solid layer of head. So when you do go to top it up to the correct volume, you'll get almost this solid creme brulee like effect on the head. This one might have gotten out of control on me a little bit. One nice technique for cleaning beer is to use the classic ketchup mustard bottle with some water. Nobody wants to get a glass that's got beer stuck all over the ends. So make sure you give it a nice rinse down. And use your rag to clean that up. It'll present nicer. People will enjoy their experience more. Okay, so when pouring beer, you're gonna run into three situations. One, you may get the first pour perfect. That's 12 ounces of beer plus a sufficient amount of head to bring it to the brim. Pretty rare. Your other situations, you may get too much head, not enough liquid. In that situation, I'd say go ahead and let it settle. People are willing to wait at least a minute. You make that extra pour up to your 12 ounces. It's gonna go out, you're gonna have a solid head on there. Head retention will be great. Alternatively, you may run into a situation where you have too much liquid without enough head. In this situation, you wanna use your faucet to your advantage. Normally when you make your pour, you wanna start with a quick pull. It's gonna give you the least resistance, the least amount of head in your pour. Even here, we get a decent amount. But say we need a little bit extra, it's just as you slightly open that faucet, you're gonna be generating the most amount of foam. It's kind of like putting your thumb over a champagne bottle. When you restrict it, it generates all that foam. And so, as an example, you just barely open that faucet, gets you that nice froth. In this situation, you can say, oh, well, we have too much head. What happens as we let this settle, and then we'll top it back up? So it goes both ways, but the most important thing is to get 12 ounces of liquid with good 2 fingers of solid foam.